welcome back to my channel. It is the very end of the year, so my favorite thing to do in December, sometimes early January, is to share with you my favorite picture books that came out in this past year. So I have a collection of my favorite picture books that were released in 2024, and I've done it a little bit differently every year. I have a couple of these videos, and some years I pick like just 5 or 6. One year I picked a huge stack, so you should definitely go back and check that one out. The past year or so, I've picked one from every month, and I think I might stick with that for a little while. That way it kind of narrows it down without making this video super long, but you get a taste of some of my favorites that came out every year and kind of gives me a little bit of a direction to go in with my videos. So I've picked out one book from every month. I think there's one month where I picked 2 books because in true Sara fashion, I couldn't narrow it down. But I have, that makes it 13. I think 13 books that I really love that were released in 2024. And I'll let you know each month that they were released. And I'll also leave links in the description box down below of not only each book, but links to each month's video. So all of the books that were, well, not all, but a collection of books that were released in January, a collection of books that were released in February, and so on throughout the whole month, or throughout the whole year, sorry. So that way you get exposure to all of these new books that were released, because like I always say in my videos, it's hard to keep up with those new books, and sometimes you feel like you're reading the same ones every year, or you're reading ones that the students already heard from the teacher before, which I talk about with students about how it's good to hear books over and over again, but as teachers, you really want those new books. So I'm going to share with you my favorites from 2024, and let me know in the comments below which one of these is your favorite, or if you have another one that I didn't share that you love that came out this year, definitely tell me in the comments below. So to start the year off, the first book that was released that I really liked in January 2024 is called Too Much: My Great Big Native Family, and this is by Laurel Goodluck. So this book is about a young boy who is part of a big Native family, and he gets a great part in the school play, and he's so excited to share it with them, but then he starts to think about it and realize that his family can sometimes be too much. There's too many of them, and they're too noisy, it's too loud, too chaotic. So he decides not to tell them that he got this part in the play. But as the book goes on, he starts to realize that maybe he really does love being part of this big family and loves their support and their love, and decides that maybe it is a good idea that he comes from this big family, and allows them to join in his excitement for getting this role in the play. So Too Much: My Great Big Native Family is one of the first books from the year that I really enjoyed. The next book was released in February 2024. This one is called A Happy Place by Britta Teckentrup. This one is really neat. Like, I love the words, but it's a really cool book because it has all these cutouts on each page, and it almost like takes, not only do the words and the story take you on an adventure, but seeing all the different pages and the cutouts takes you on an adventure too, and it's really neat to see those like peek throughs on each page. I'm going to try and show you on the video, but sometimes that's a little tricky, but definitely grab this one because it's a fun one to share with your class. This next book that came out in March 2024, I really liked because it incorporates some STEM and STEAM concepts, which I know a lot of classrooms are using quite a bit lately. So I really like when you can incorporate picture books into that as well. This one's called Tricky Chopsticks, and it's written by Sylvia Chen. This book is about a young Chinese American girl who can't quite get the handle on using chopsticks, but a family member is having a birthday party coming up, and every year they have an annual chopsticks challenge, and she's determined to show her family that she really does know how to use the chopsticks, and she's gonna do whatever it takes to prove to her family that she can hold her own in this tradition. And so there's definitely some fumbles along the way, but this is also a great book about working hard, perseverance, that growth mindset. So that's also included in this book, which I think would make a great read aloud for your classroom. This next one might just be a favorite from me because it takes place in one of my favorite places. This one is Aloha Everything, and it takes place in Hawaii, which is one of my favorite places. So maybe this is just a personal favorite. But this one was released in April of 2024, and the illustrations in this book are beautiful. There are some amazing colors, and just the drawings are really beautiful and definitely jump off the page at you. So through the rhyming lyrics of this book, we meet a young girl who loves the island that she lives on, and we follow along as she learns to dance the hula and all of the history that comes along with the place where she lives and how she learns to love and appreciate the world around her. So not only are there beautiful illustrations, but beautiful lyrical text in this one as well. My favorite picture book release from May 2024 is The Curious Why. This is by Angela DiTerlizzi, and this is a follow-up to The Magical Yet, which I know quite a few teachers use in their classroom. But this one helps students to see that if they're bored, it's because they choose to be. And in this book, they realize that the curious why is always around them to teach them that there's something new to learn about the world around them at all times. When your kids are feeling bored, they can ask themselves questions such as, why do bees sting? How are crayons made? Do you know where the dinosaurs went? And it really opens up your students' mind to a world of possibilities, and remind them that it's a lot easier to have fun. They just need to wonder about the world around them. That all they really need is just a little bit of curiosity. This is another great classroom read aloud. Next, we have the picture book that was released in June 2024, and I believe my June, July, and August new releases video is all one video. I didn't do 3 separate ones for the summer, so I just have one big video for summer, and again, I'll leave it linked in the description box down below. But Home in a Lunchbox is written by Cherry Moe, and it's about a young girl who immigrates to America and finds home in an unexpected place. When the young girl moves from Hong Kong to America, there are only a few words that she knows in English, such as hello, thank you, and she's realizing that this new world is kind of terrifying. But when she opens her lunchbox and finds her favorite meal inside, she realizes that home might not be so far away at all. Next, we have a picture book release from July. This one is called Saturdays at Harlem Grown, How One Big Idea Transformed a Neighborhood, and it's written by Tony Hillary. This one is a companion book to the nonfiction book Harlem Grown, and it's about a real-life urban community farm. And it's all about how this teacher and student decided to create this farm. And all of a sudden, community members from far and wide came to help them plant and get this garden ready to grow and have these vegetables to share. So not only in the end did they have this wonderful food, but they had grown this community of people helping each other out and working together and becoming friends as well. And then in the back, there's even an author's note, and she has a recipe for soup and instructions for recycling and composting and tending to a garden. Not only is this a great story to read with your students, but you have that information in the back that you can talk with them about if they want to create their own garden as well. The next book I have was released in August 2024. This one is called Once Upon a Diwali by Anita Mishara. And in this story, the young girl loves celebrating Diwali with her family. She really doesn't like the darkness and the loud fireworks that come along with it. So reading this book with your class, you'll learn quite a bit about the celebration of Diwali and what it means and how it's celebrated. And you'll also follow along as this young girl figures out if she can celebrate this wonderful holiday with her family and friends without being scared at the same time. Another great picture book read aloud for a classroom. The next picture book I was not able to get from the library yet, which I kind of want to mention. I meant to talk about at the beginning of the video, but we'll talk about it now, is a question that I get all the time, or a struggle that teachers share with me, is that they don't have enough money to buy all the books. Believe me, I don't either. A lot of the books that I share on here come from my local library. I highly recommend, if you want to read books with your class, to check them out of the library, whether it's your school library or your local library, because that will save you a lot of money. When you find ones you do really love and you think you're going to use over and over, that your class really loves, definitely look into buying those, but you do not need to buy all the picture books for your classroom. That is not my goal when sharing these books with you. I want you to just be able to share the stories with your students, whether you get them for free for a couple days from your library or if you choose to buy them. Like I said, I don't buy nearly as many books as I share on here. Most of them are from the library. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a few weeks ago a reel that the local library called and told me I had a few books on hold. I think I had about 40. I have to buckle my library book bag in on my seat in my car on the way home because the seatbelt alert goes off because my book bag is so heavy. But yes, I highly recommend grabbing books from your local library or even your school library and using those. That way you're not spending a ton of money. I also have a video that shares ways to get books for your classroom for a lot cheaper than buying them from like Barnes & Noble. I always recommend supporting your favorite authors and your local independent bookstores, but I do know that it can get expensive. But there are other ways that you can create your own classroom library or share books with students without breaking the bank. But that being said, the next book that I have that I wanted to share with you that I really enjoyed that came out in 2024 is I Want to Read All the Books. So this is about a curious girl who has so many questions, and she decides that in order to answer all her questions, she's going to read all the books. So she's going to read all the books at her house, and then her mom brings her to the library and she realizes that there are way too many books for her to read and discovers that maybe she can't read all of them. Now what's going to happen? You'll have to read this one with your class to find out what she decides to do when it comes to reading all the books. This next one I did buy for my own collection because I am slowly adding all the books from this series into my own personal collection. This one is called Bee's Bad Day, and it's by Tom Percival, and it's part of the Big Bright Feelings book series. So I have a handful of them. I don't believe I have all of them yet, but these are great stories that take some social emotional concepts that might be hard for students to comprehend and puts them into something more physical that they can understand and see, and really helps them to explain what these feelings or these emotions mean, what they might look like, how they might feel in their own bodies, and shows them ways of dealing with these feelings. And by showing them ahead of time in the picture book, it makes it easier for them to handle those feelings and emotions when they are dealing with them on their own. This one specifically, this is Bee's Bad Day, and in this book it is Bee's birthday and she is so excited. She can't wait to see her family and her friends and have them all over and celebrate. But then a storm comes up and all of a sudden her favorite day is turning into a really bad day. Her family can't get to her. She's not receiving any gifts in the mail. How is she going to be able to celebrate? And so we've walked through with Bee to see if she can figure out how to be okay even in the middle of this disappointing day that was supposed to be really great but ended up being really bad. So this one specifically talks to students or shares with students what happens, what it feels like when we are disappointed, and how to practice that flexibility and maybe even find fun where they least expect it. So another great one, not only this brand new one, but any of the books in the Big Bright Feelings collection are great additions to your classroom library, especially when it comes to talking about those social emotional learning skills. And I don't know if I mentioned, but this one came out in October 2024. And October is actually the month that I have 2 books that were released that I was really excited about. It might be kind of fitting because my birthday's in October, so maybe that's why, but I really did like both of these books. The next one I don't actually have. This one is called Night Owl and Early Bird, and I just loved the first Night Owl book by Christopher Denise. It was such a cute story, and I just fell in love with the character Night Owl. But in this follow-up, Night Owl makes a friend with Early Bird, who really wants to be just as brave as Night Owl is. But she falls asleep on the job and then keeps her hero up during the day. And the two of them figure out how to work together when trouble arrives at the castle. You'll have to read this new picture book release with your class to find out. This next book that I have was released in November 2024, and it kind of reminds me of the one I already shared. It reminds me a little bit of Too Much. This one is called Be Careful, Xiao Xin. And Xiao lives in a multi-generational family, and again, they're just too much. They are constantly telling him to be careful and not do things because they're worried that he's going to get hurt and not want to do it anymore. But he's kind of an adventurous kid, so eventually he just ventures out on his own. He's really eager for that taste of freedom, so he runs away, and his family is sick with worry about where he could be. They definitely imagine the worst until they are reunited with him, and they start to realize all of his amazing capabilities once they let him show who he truly is without trying to shut him down or keeping him from doing things that they think might be dangerous. So another one about a loving family that can sometimes feel like a little too much. And the last book that I want to share with you came out this month, December 2024, and it is a combination of one of my favorite authors and illustrators, Mo Willems and Dan Santat. This one is called Lefty. And in this picture book, the two characters, Lefty and Righty, put on almost a theatrical performance to kind of share all of these interesting facts about people who are left-handed and how they're kind of pretty neat. But they also make sure they don't leave out people who are right-handed either. And it is just a silly, fun book, again, with this duo that do amazing picture books together. But Lefty is another great read aloud to share with your class. So I hope you've made it this far and that you are going to grab some of the picture books that I shared today. Again, tell me in the comments below if you have any favorite picture books that were released this year or even this month. And I will leave links to all of the books as well as all of the videos of more picture books that were released each month this year, because I know that you're always on the lookout for new books and that it's fun to be able to share those with your students for the first time. If this video was helpful for you, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button down below, and make sure to turn on that notification bell so that way you don't miss a video. I will meet you back here next Monday where we will discuss more picture books and ways that you can use them in the classroom. Have a great week.